Welcome to Buzzard's Corner of Love. Think outside the box. I am Heather Buzzard, bringing people back to themselves where we uplift and inspire you. We're here today. You can think outside the box and make the choice to pay it forward, possibly helping your community. Also, you can just give someone a smile and see what a difference you make in their life. Angels, think outside the box as you move along in life. We welcome you here to our channel. Subscribe, like our videos. Please comment in the section down below. Put ones or twos if you've enjoyed being with us here. Put a one if it's a yes, two if it's no. Put in what you think of this video here today. Comment suggestions as we wrap up the month. Today, as we continue the theme of boundaries and self-empowerment, we're going to be talking about no explanations. So let me ask you, do you feel that you are one that has to feel you need to explain yourself? If that's so, put a one in the chat. If not, put a two. Do you feel that you have a hard time saying no to people? If that's yes, put a one. If that's no, put a two. Do you find yourself compromising your boundaries for other people? If that's a yes, put a one in the chat below. If that's a two, if that's a no, put a two in the chat below. Angels, I asked myself those questions. And there was a time in my life where I did compromise my boundaries for other people. And I did have a difficult time saying no because I used to be a quote unquote people pleaser. And that all comes along with having to explain oneself. And which is why now at this point in my life, I'm at a point where there are no explanations necessary. And you too can have that in your life. Doesn't matter your age or whatnot. You can also mold, shape, and create your life where there are no explanations that are necessary. So we're going to give you a summary of what explanations are. It says there are times when explanations aren't necessary, particularly when you're focusing on personal authenticity. So when you are doing a personal transformation within yourself and people don't understand what is happening, you don't have to explain to them about anything. And that's one thing that I realized back 20 some years ago. I did do that. I explained to everybody about everything that I was doing and why I was doing it and how come this, that, and the other thing. And there was no reason for that. At that time, I didn't understand that as I do today. Today, I don't do that yet. We don't have to explain anything to anybody, especially when we're going through a transformation, because it is personal. It's between you and your higher self. And angels, I didn't say to get your favorite beverage. I have mine here today. So take a drink of your favorite beverage. Good iced tea. I love that. So knowing that you can focusing on personal authenticity, you don't have to explain yourself. Avoiding unnecessary conflict or respecting the boundaries of others, you don't have to explain that either. You can just respect the boundaries of others and without an explanation to anybody about that. Yet when you're focusing on your personal authenticity and well-being, what does that say to you? Is that living authentically to you? And when we say living authentically, you don't need to explain your choices or your beliefs to others to get approval. I know there was a time in my life when I used to explain to others why I was doing this, how come I was doing this, what the reason was behind it, what I was going to benefit from it, and how it was going to be so great in my life. And yet today, angels, I've come to understand that that's a waste of energy and time because most people really aren't interested. Yet when you do explain yourself, then you're putting your explanations out there into the universe to be subjected to others' thoughts as well. So, and also trying to get approval. At that time, I was seeking their approval. I don't do that anymore because I approve of myself. And that's one thing. Once you understand that you approve of you and that it's just between you and you, then there is no need to prove anything to anybody else. That will drop by the wayside. I can't even tell you. I don't even remember when it did. It just did. Prioritizing your time and energy. Is that something you do? I know for me today, I'm in a new space where I'm expanding Buzzard's Corner of Love and getting out onto virtual stages and doing speaking and whatnot. And that international summit that we were participated in a couple of weeks ago, that has just helped expand us as well, because we've met more people. And as we've met more people, we've joined more events. And as we join more events, more opportunities have opened up, opportunities to speak, opportunities to be in speaker manuals, things of that nature. So we know we're expanding. Yet I had to prioritize my time and my energy, because computers can drain a lot of energy out of us. Even those phones, angels, can drain a lot of energy from us. And I was on the phone from 7:30 until 11:30. So I had to take time to be away and rest and just lay the computers and all of that aside and focus on myself and do some breathing and be having that time for myself. So prioritize your time and where you spend your energy. Self-acceptance. People who truly understand you don't need explanations. And I tell you, that's one of the things my best buddy out here says to me all the time. He says, if you notice, Heather, I don't explain anything. And he doesn't. And I'll try to pull it out of him. He's like, I don't need to explain it to you. And he's absolutely right. He doesn't. And he is my best friend. So people who truly love you, and he knows I love him. And because we have that connection, and people that you have that connection with who truly love you won't need to have an explanation from you. They will accept you as you are, as he has accepted me as I am. So how many people in your life do you accept as they are without having them need to explain to you, or vice versa? How many people do you explain yourself to? Boundaries is very important. And this is our theme of the month, is self-empowerment and boundaries. So in setting boundaries for yourself, do you find yourself compromising your boundaries? I noticed at one time I compromised my boundaries in relationships with men. That was the number one area that I compromised my boundaries in. As far as my personal life and my home life and et cetera, so on, I set my boundaries there. But relationships with men, I did compromise my boundaries because I was seeking approval and trying to get them to quote unquote like me. Yet now today I understand that it was me having to like myself, accept myself, and approve of myself. Whereas now I'm able to stand in who I am and walk into a relationship with confidence and love in myself without having the need to seek approval of anybody else. And angels, that is true freedom. Are you in that space where you're able to be doing have that as well? As we move on, we will say here, it says, over explaining yourself takes away from your value. Have you ever thought about that? Your self-value when you over explain. I'll give you an example. The other day, and this is interesting that this happened. I tell you, this happens to me all the time. I pick a topic and that topic comes into my life for the experience. I was pulling into the driveway here where I live at, and I back into the driveway. And at the same time that I was backing into the driveway, my neighbor who lives above me was pulling in front. So I backed into the driveway, and I had groceries in my car and whatnot. And I was getting out to get them out, and she pulled in and she got out of her car. And she walked past me. She said, hey, Heather. And I said, hey, I spoke to her, and I went on to explain to her what I was doing. And when I walked in the house, I said to myself, why did you feel that you needed to explain to her what you were doing? And when I looked back at it, because I said, I'm going to have to really think about this and go on a deeper level. When I looked back at it, was the fact that she was coming in, that we were coming in at the same time. And maybe by her thinking that I was busy, it would, I don't, approval, I guess approval. There, ooh. Yeah, had to have been. it was really interesting to see that because I'm not one to explain myself to angels. I don't explain myself to anybody. But obviously I explained myself to her at that time. And it was interesting to see that. So I guess we all can explain ourselves yet by building up our muscles and standing in our power of saying no and feeling that we don't have people please and that there's no need to get approval from anybody. And the more that we accept approval of ourselves, the more I believe we will be able to stand in that power of authenticity. As we move on, justifying our actions. Do you feel that you need to justify your actions to people? Because I tell you, there was a time when I felt I needed to justify my actions. And when I did, I went into explanations about everything. Again, telling everybody, everything. And most people don't want to hear that. And in putting that out there, I only allowed myself to have negativity and all that come back into my stream of life. But I wasn't as conscious back then as I am today, angels. Yeah, I will tell you, the need to justify our actions and decisions, especially the ones inconsistent with our beliefs, comes from the unpleasant feeling called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a state of tension that occurs whenever a person holds two inconsistent conjunctions: fear and faith, hate and love, truth and dishonesty. That if we hold both of them, then that is it leads to an inconsistent life, because then we can't firmly plant our roots in one and move forward, angels. So in justifying everything, it's a cognitive dissonance, and it can be a learned behavior as well through society, yet and religion. Yet we have no need to justify anything. As we move forward, are you able to say no? We asked you that in the beginning of our show. If you're able to say no without explaining yourself, or do you say, well, I can't make it to this today because I have to do this, that, and the other thing, or I'm unavailable for the meeting because I have to do this, that, or do you just say, no, I'm unavailable, or no, I can't make that, or no, I'll have to catch you next week? What is it that you say? Are you able to say no without explaining? I don't believe a lot of people are. I am one that can say no and mean it if it's something that I'm firm about. And then there are other times that I say no and I do find myself explaining. Yeah, check this out. Saying no, angels, is an act of self-respect, and it isn't selfishness. I'm going to say this again. Saying no is an act of self-respect, and it isn't selfishness. Religion, society, your friends, your family, acquaintances, people you don't even know can make you feel guilty by saying no. And yet you're only saying God gave us the gift to say no so that we can stand in our own power, so that we can experience freedom in our life, and we can move forward. And those that don't desire to hear you say no are only saying to you, I would like for you to continue to show up the way that you've been showing up so that I can continue to show up the way that I show up. Because if you change, then I'm going to have to change. Or if you say no, then that's going to be an inconvenience to me. So, angels, let me ask you, How many times in your life have you been able to say no without any explanations? Put that down below in the chat. Share with us what it is. And if you had a difficult time saying no, put that down in the chat below. What are the reasons for it? Put a heart or emoji sign, whatever it may be, down in the chat below. And in the chat below, Angels 2, we also put our website address up there. So you can go to our web address and check out our blog postings, our group coaching packages, our YouTube channel, as we have videos and whatnot over there as well. That's all in the link. The link is in the chat below. So as we move on, saying no, knowing that no is an act of self-love and isn't an act of selfishness. You don't need to justify your choices or your priorities or anything to anybody. And just knowing that when you say no with confidence, you're able to affirm your values and show yourself who you are. When you can stand and say, no, thank you, and be okay with that, then you stood in your own self-value. You stood in your own confidence of who you are, and you're able to walk away with your head held high. So this is just as much for me as it is for you, angels, because I'm only speaking to myself. So knowing that saying no isn't selfish and it's an act of self-love, how can you look at it differently? In what perspective can you look at it differently so that you can feel better? So that you can begin to exercise your power of no and mean it and stand in it and feel better about who you are. Because I tell you, angels, we are here to feel good. That is what boundaries are for. We set boundaries so that we can feel good. I had to set boundaries today because I was on technology all morning, as we mentioned earlier, and I had to set boundaries to get my rest. We have to set boundaries in everything, relationships, with our organizations, with our friends, with our family, with our significant others, with our acquaintances, business. We have to set boundaries. And in order to set boundaries, we have to have self-empowerment tools that we can use on a daily basis. And we have to have self-confidence that we can utilize those tools in any situation that we may need them in. So as we leave you today, we're going to say to you, practice just saying no. Practice saying yes and stopping there. If somebody asks you something, yes. If somebody asks you something that you don't know, and just stop. Just practice that and see how you feel. See if it nags on you to have to explain to them. See if you just explain to them unconsciously. When I was outside with my neighbor angels, it was an unconscious explanation. I caught myself after I came. I was like, why did you do that, Heather? You said you're going to be doing a show about no explanation, and here you're explaining. So take notice, because it's when you notice it that you can change it. And that's the thing, angels. When we notice something, then we can change it. Yet if we don't notice it and say that it isn't there, then we can't change it. If you feel the word because formulate in your mouth, see what happens when you don't say that. No, because, or yes, because. Just no, yes. If you feel that word because or an explanation starting to come up and out, just stop yourself, do some breathing, and take notice about what you're feeling in that moment, why you feel you needed to explain there what that is. And it may not come to you at that moment, but it will come to you, just like it did for me. It didn't come to me right in that moment, yet it did come to me. So just, angels, this is how we shift and change. This is how transformation comes into play. And self-empowering is using self-empowering tools empowers you to have a happier life. It empowers you to smile. to be able to give a compliment, to have joy, to laugh, to love, to skip, to play, to just enjoy what is here that God has given us to enjoy, to be on this planet, to have friends, to have wealth, life, love, all of the abundance, prosperity, and all that we could possibly imagine. So, in knowing that, setting boundaries and self empowerment is a big part of living a healthy, happy life. We believe here at Buzzard's Corner of Love. So, as we wrap it up, angels, and we wrap up the month next week will be our last week. And we'll be giving you empowerment tools that you can use on a daily basis. We're going to be giving you some more tools that you can use on a daily basis so that you can leave this month with a feeling of self-empowerment, with a feeling that you have the tools and the keys that you need to move your life forward. We've given you examples, we've given you reasons, we've given you tips and tools. There are so many different websites out there as well with information about transformation, personal development. We here at Buzzard's Corner of Love are now doing group coaching. So if you know 3 or more people who would like to do group coaching, you can contact us here at BuzzardsKorner.com. Click on our coaching page and you'll see the packages of our group coaching. We also do our personal one-on-one session coaching, as well as 60-day coaching one-on-one. Yet the group coaching is a very great opportunity for 3 or more people to come together to solidify a bond over a 60, 90-day period and to watch themselves transform. And it's amazing, angels, because then you have that accountability when you're in a group form. You have the ability to have that support that we talk about that is so needed as you walk this path of transformation and spirituality in your life. So, angels, we encourage you to stand in your power of no without any explanation. Try it. Try it this evening. Just allow yourself to be without any explaining to anybody about anything. And as you do this more and more, it will become a way of life for you if you do it consistently. Because that's one thing that I noticed that I've been practicing is what I'm teaching you is what I've been practicing. And the more that I practice it, the more that I teach it, the more that I hear about it, the more that I'm able to stand in it without explanation and explaining. And the more aware I become of when I do find myself explaining or having to feel that the need to explain. So this is all to help free you so that you can have the life that you desire, angel, so that you can create the life that you desire. And it's all about what it is that you desire to be doing, have in life. You are the creator of your thoughts, and your thoughts create your life. Your words that you speak create your vibration. Your vibration attracts what comes to you. Think about that. It's all up to you. We really are powerful beings. So powerful that we're afraid of our power, that we do everything we can to not even acknowledge it. Yet this is a time, especially here at Buzzard's Corner of Love, to acknowledge our self-empowerment, for you to acknowledge your self-empowerment, because we each have the same. Nobody has more and nobody has less. And it's up to you to utilize it. It works if you work it, angels. So as we close this session, we encourage you to say no. Give you some affirmations. I am willing to stand in my power of no. I am saying no without any explanation. I am understanding that I have no need to justify my thoughts or feelings. I am understanding that I have no need to justify my thoughts or feelings. I am choosing to stand in my power of love. I am no longer compromising my boundaries. I am allowing myself to be free. I am choosing to say yes to life. I am that I am that I am. Angels, take those affirmations, implement them in your life. Guarantee you will stand strong in the power of no or in the power of yes without having to justify, explain, or anything of that nature. And you're worth it. I'm worth it. Next week, angels, we're going to be talking about empowering tools. We're going to give you empowering tools as we wrap up our month of boundaries and self-empowerment. So you can join us for that conversation next week. Angels, we put our link to our website in the chat below. Please put your comments in the chat below. Anything that you'd like to share with us, put in the comment in the chat below. Emojis are welcome as well. Subscribe and like our videos as well, angels. And we are so grateful and appreciative of having each and every one of you here. Join our community. Follow us on Facebook, X, Tumblr, Pinterest, all social sites we are on as well. And angels, soon we will be doing some more virtual summits and talks. And as we do, we will pass that information on to you. And we are so looking forward to that. So next week, our self-empowering tools. Until then, angels, I am Heather Buzzard of Buzzard's Corner of Love. Think outside the box, bringing people back to themselves.